7 past the hour. Welcome back. So we have a member of Congress, a Republican member of the House from Idaho, obviously, Raul Labrador. He went so far as to chastise some members of his own party in the past couple of days for what they are saying, these Republican filth are saying about the release of Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. According to Huffington Post, this congressman, this Republican, is saying that these critics should stop acting like the prisoner swap that Obama arranged was unprecedented. And of course, but this is why we talk about Fox. They convince people of their sickness in their lives, and they're very good at it, especially when everybody watches waiting for that crotch shot. Is it coming now? Is she? Huh? Is she going to cross her legs? Wait. Move, Ducci. Oh, yeah. Representative Labrador said, quote, "I'm a little bit disturbed by some of the Republicans out there who keep saying that this has never happened before." He said this during an interview on a radio station in Boise, Idaho. He said, quote, "That is not entirely true. If you look historically, at the end of any conflict, you have a swap of prisoners. That happens. Usually our side will release people that are less than desirable in order to get some of our people back in these swaps. So I suggest that anybody who's being hypercritical about this, they should look at the history. This has happened before." Well, Mr. Labrador, are you suggesting that people who vote Republican or members of your filthy, stinking party are even capable of saying the word history, much less looking at it? You got to be kidding. I don't know anything about this Raul Labrador and don't want to. But for him to suggest, what he's suggesting here is logic, reason, rationality among members of his party in elective office and people who vote Republican. That's not possible. Anyway, with all this criticism Obama has been getting about this issue, when there's a whole list of things that Obama could be criticized about, but the Republicans won't criticize him about those issues because they pretty much agree with target assassinations. They pretty much agree with keeping the camp in Guantanamo open. They pretty much agree with ignoring global warming. I mean, well, not that he's ignoring it, but you know what I'm saying. I hope you do. So some of the most critical members of Congress, where it concerns Bo Bergdahl, were also the ones who have been just screaming and demanding that the Obama administration, for months, if not years, do whatever it took to get Bo Bergdahl released. John Bellinger, who served as a national security advisor to the Bush bastard, said in a Fox interview Tuesday that he believed Obama did the right thing in recovering Bergdahl. This guy, who used to advise the Bush bastard, noted that because the war in Afghanistan is winding down, the administration would have had to release the 5 detainees soon anyway. Well, according to all the rhetoric of Bush and Clinton and Obama and the rest of these war lovers, the war on terror, in the first place, how do you, this has been said before, how do you wage war on a tactic? It can't be done. When you say we have a war on terror, not only is that an impossible statement, I mean, it's illogic to begin with. But who determines when a war on terror is over? We're not at war with Afghanistan. We're at war with terror. We're not at war with Somalia. We're not at war with all the countries where we unleash Hellfire missiles. We're at war with terror. So how do you know when the terror has ended? And if you declare the terror has ended, and then there's an incident someplace, somewhere on earth that could be defined as an act of terror, does the war start up again? This is insanity. So this guy who used to advise the Bush bastards said that because the war in Afghanistan is winding down, and allegedly U.S. troops will be out by the end of 2016, the Obama administration would have had to release the 5 detainees soon anyway. What does that mean? Does that mean that on the day the U.S. troops leave Afghanistan, the war on terror is over, and therefore these people that this filthy bastard Dick Cheney declared the worst of the worst, they'll all be released? If they're the worst of the worst, and they're going to be released, somebody is full of it here. Well, it's easy to decide who. But I digress. I'm talking about this congressman, Raul Labrador. Some of these right-wing devils have attacked Bergdahl's father, Robert, who appeared with Obama in the Rose Garden last Saturday, for the announcement of his son, that his son was coming home. He had grown his beard long to mark the time his son was missing. He studied Pashto, the language that's spoken for the most part in Afghanistan. He devoured books from the culture his son was now living in. And at the event with Obama, Bergdahl also spoke in Arabic and Pashto, saying his son may be, quote, having trouble speaking English, end quote, after having spent so much time with the Taliban. But all of those actions, speaking a foreign language, oh, goddamn, you must be a terrorist. That's what they said on Fox. And the biggest freak about this was Douchey and his little butt boy sidekick who sits on the couch with him. Don't get in the way of the woman there, because when she crosses her legs, we might get a crotch shot. Keep watching. You know what I'm talking about. This Brian Kilmeade freak. Kilmeade said that the beard made Bergdahl look like a member of the Taliban. Oh my God. So does Santa Claus then, right? Oh, a member of the Taliban, he has a beard. And then this piece of what won't flush down the toilet, Alan West, a former representative from Florida, he criticized Bergdahl's father for speaking foreign languages. Ooh. And Alan West, the floater that won't go down when you flush the toilet over and over and over, it just won't go down. That's Alan West. He said that the father speaking foreign languages was part of a grand plan to claim the White House for Islam. Now, if this son of a bitch is not crazy, Alan West, if he's not crazy, then we need a whole new definition of crazy. The man standing there speaking Arabic is evidence of a grand plan to give the White House to Islam. I mean, there's not even a word in that thought that makes any sense at all. But this is what Republicans do. This is what they do on Fox. And to the millions of viewers who watch Fox, this is the kind of absolute destruction to their minds that they're getting on a daily, hourly basis. And you wonder why sometimes I say, man, I do not have any hope for this country. Here you go. 21 past the hour, and Jon Stewart and others have said it much better than I could. If you took Bergdahl's father, tied a bandana around his head, and gave him a wooden duck, he would just look just like the people in Duck Dynasty. I mean, are they? This is the thing, the ignorance of people like Alan West and everybody on Fox and the Lindsey Graham Cracker and John McCain. I mean, the ignorance and the stupidity is just overwhelming sometimes. to suggest that because someone speaks a different language, that's part of a plot to Islamicize the White House. I mean, what kind of mind can produce that kind of image? Well, Alan West, the floater. Anyway, Robert Bergdahl is getting criticism. They're dumping on this family. This is a part this is so typically, I'm sorry, this is typically American. I'm not saying everybody in America does this, but this is what you find in this country of nutcases and religious psychopaths and right-wing neo-fascists. This is what you find. Because Obama made an announcement that the only captive in Afghanistan had been freed, all hell breaks loose. Obama did it. Now, if Lindsey Graham Cracker or John McCain would have negotiated this, oh my Christ almighty, there would be parades in the streets. There would be flags waving. They would be just being orgasmic on Fox. Oh, and the subtext would be, our president couldn't do it. In his interview with the radio station in Boise, Iowa, Raul Labrador, the Republican representative from Idaho, said, quote, I see all these comments about what his father has said and done. It's very difficult to judge a father who's going through this kind of experience. I don't think we should be judging Bo by some of the actions of his father. Oh, his father grew a beard, son of a bitch. By some of the comments of his father. Ooh, his father spoke in Pashto. Ooh. Because his father was just trying to get his son home. And as you know, any father would do whatever they can to get their son home in a situation like this. Now, the hate that has been ginned up in this goddamn armed madhouse that you and I call home has now extended to Haley, Idaho, the town where this kid grew up. I told you earlier in the week, they had to cancel the celebration to bring him home because of goddamn threats of violence. You know what Idaho is. There's parts of Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, that is just chock-a-block with these crazy sons of bitches and their guns and their ammo and their camo and their new Nazi symbol that looks like the SS and their swastikas. Jesus God. According to NBC News, town officials in Haley, Idaho have been deluged with angry calls from people who say that Bergdahl is an Army deserter or a traitor who doesn't deserve a welcome home. Can you believe this? Of course you can. You live here too. Jane Drussel, president of the local Chamber of Commerce in that town, said people are saying, how dare we as a community support someone who in their mind they're thinking is a deserter or a traitor. They had plans to come here on their vacation, and now they're no longer coming. They're canceling their reservations. This country's sick, right down to the goddamn bone. You know it, and I know it. God help you if you talk about it. If you come out on a program like this and say, this country is sick, you know what happens? One of these right-wing pissants writes about you on his little blog site, and that's about as far as it goes. This woman, who is the head of the local Chamber of Commerce, said, quote, I just find that shocking. You know, we're Americans, and we need to act like Americans, and to me, that's un-American. Let things play out, and if there needs to be action taken, I'm sure it'll be taken. But that's not the city of Haley's responsibility. That's a town of 8,000. Representative Labrador acknowledged that there are still many questions about Bergdahl's initial disappearance, whether he's a deserter, as some have said, or whether he was mentally imbalanced. How about if the guy just saw what his government was doing in this country where empires go to die, you do not ever defeat the people of Afghanistan. 5 empires have tried, and every single one of them has had their asses handed to them. And maybe he didn't like Bergdahl, didn't like seeing children run over by Humvees and his fellow soldiers just ignoring a crushed 4-year-old in the middle of the road. Is that mental illness? To these sons of bitches, it is.